That's right, guys. We're here to talk about the phenomenal females of the sport. The Copa Libertadores Femenina had exciting futsal amongst some of the best women in South America, but little surprises, unfortunately, as we looked at this contest. That said, it did not take away from a couple of interesting statistics. In Cochabamba, Bolivia, where Always Ready played hosts, and finalists from last year now hosting the contest, would it benefit them throughout the tournament? Let's dive in and see. The Titans of South America did stand out in this contest. Little spoiler alert if you didn't catch the games there. Only 4 returning clubs came back to the contest. That was, of course, Always Ready as hosts. Stein Cascavel as defending champs. We saw Peñarol from Uruguay, as well as a team that I cannot pronounce, but will butcher consistently for you guys throughout this video, and that's enthusiast, who are from Paraguay. So if you guys hear me referencing a Paraguay squad, I'm talking about that logo with the lizard. You're going to have to excuse me on that one. Someone educate me in the comments, please. I am here for it. You guys know I admit when I'm wrong. Let's hear it. But let's look into the group stage and how this all came about and take a look at all the participants in this tournament. When we look at Group A, we see Racing Club from Argentina. We see Always Ready from Bolivia. Futsal Union from Ecuador. Tigres from Venezuela. And, of course, Deportes Japan from Peru. Now, Racing, were the ones that ran away with this group. They went undefeated, even beating last year's finalists Always Ready in front of their home crowd in a very tough 3-2 match that was probably the closest contest amongst all the teams in Group A. A very exciting match that saw Racing's steady play, very consistent. They never really won by a large number of goals throughout the group stage, but were just very consistent, stuck to the plan, Always Ready, taking some big wins out of this group. Massive goal differentials amongst some of the lesser teams in the group, so to speak. And then, of course, the other teams filling out the group in the middle. Tigres from Venezuela, though, very interesting fact is we see the head coach from their men's side, who made history 2 years ago, being the first female coach on the men's stage, lead her women into battle. This time, they found themselves in a mid-group finish, but always in the conversation when talking about tough South American women's teams. So they will be looking to improve on that in years future. Looking at Group B, we see defending champs Stein Cascavel against that enthusiast in Paraguay, and then, of course, Peñarol from Uruguay, and the Universidad de Chile from, you guessed it, Chile. So we see a massive performance from the defending champs in Stein. They never let a goal into the back of the net during the group stage. Never conceded, never lost. Literally a perfect group performance for the squad that put on not only a defensive clinic, but were just so incredibly forceful throughout this tournament. Everything about what they did felt so smooth and fluid. It was a beautiful game for sure anytime they were involved. And much like the men's team in Cascavel, the Rattlesnake, they really put their stamp on this tournament and were very, very interesting to watch during this. Now, this set up, of course, a semifinal that saw Racing face off against second place from Group B, enthusiast, hopefully. And then we also saw Stein face off against Always Ready. With the exception of one club, 3 identical teams to last year, being everyone except Racing, who replaced San Lorenzo in the contest from last year. I'm going to try not to cry. But yes, Racing did represent Argentina this year instead of my beloved club. And otherwise, though, all the same countries represented as the strongest powerhouses going into this semifinal compared to last year. It's always Argentina. It's always Brazil. Paraguay's always in the conversation in some way, shape, or form. And then, of course, Always Ready, returning a lot of their squad this year, saw themselves return, which was great for the hosts and great for the crowd there in the tournament. You know, the women's game doesn't pull quite as many fans in person, we've found, as the men's side does, but it's a game that is consistently growing and getting a clearer path for these women to the world stage, as we know. And what's most interesting is what the local crowd was able to do. You know, a lot of these matches, fairly empty seats. Something that always is interesting to me about the Copa Libertadores men's and women's sides is they tend to be in these big arenas, typically the national base arenas for sports, and it's just really underutilized in the grand scheme of things, except for the big games. But that said, the Bolivian crowd was fantastic when their team was playing. Before we get to them, though, let's take a look at the other side of the semis. Argentina's Racine versus Paraguay's Exayasati fought hard in a 4-goal contest. Now, Racine, just back to what we said in the group stage, just very consistent, very steady, no eye-popping score lines or anything like that. They end up winning this contest 3-1, always really in control, including this beautiful back post hit from the club that saw them make it through to the final. Amazing goals all the way around from the contest, if you got to catch it at all. But this one really caught my eye, kissing off that back post. Oh, love it. Amazing. But then we go to the other side. In the finals rematch from last year, we see Always Ready taking on Stein Cascavel. Unfortunately, Always Ready did not have an upset in the cards, but they did do something that no one else was able to do to date in the tournament, and that was score on this Cascavel side, and they did it early. Very first goal of the contest was in Always Ready's favor, and up to this point, goalkeeper Julia and her defense were just absolutely impenetrable, and I absolutely adore this team. Amazing stuff from them. You can't help but marvel at what they are able to do. They took immediate control of the match after this and just ground away at Always Ready, ultimately winning 5-2. I mean, just effortless performance up to this point, leading into the final. Then we see Racine take on Stein Cascavel, the 2 first-place teams from each group, make it to that final. It's Argentina versus that Brazil magic that comes out of South America, and Racine never got control of that final match. They were always on the back heel here as Stein just found themselves grinding away at Racine, taking advantage of mistakes, just absolute beautiful shots. Julia, who was known for her clean sheets throughout this tournament, even got on the score sheet in this final with an absolute rocket ship that was sent from just past half court. Amazing stuff. Possibly my new futsal crush. I don't want to get weird, but amazing. I mean, I fell in love with her because of her play. Absolutely extraordinary. So well-rounded. So much fun to watch. Definitely a new fan favorite here on the channel. But the other thing is play from Simone, as she found the goal twice in this contest. She was a standout throughout the tournament. Really incredible stuff from her. She continued to find the back of the net throughout this contest, and they cruise to become Bicampeões of Copa Libertadores. The 2-time champions, Stein Cascavel, do it a year after Cascavel Club for the men's side does the same thing. Congratulations again to this Brazilian side. Still in Copa Libertadores Femenina, we've yet to see anyone other than a Brazilian team win the contest. They are head and shoulders above any other country in South America. And I just curious what you guys think about that and the contest itself. In these big contests like Copa Libertadores, even like the Champions League in the early rounds, we see big gaps in quality between teams. The best from some countries are nowhere near what the best are from these titans of the world, like Brazil, like Argentina. When we look to Europe, like Spain, like Portugal. What do you guys think about this? What do these teams have to do to be competitive? Will they ever be competitive? In the meantime, what did you think? Did you catch any of the action? Are you guys following women's futsal? It seems to really have a swell of support right now, especially with the buzz of the women's game coming next year in the Philippines. I'm curious if you guys are starting to tune in, get to know the players, and get ready to pick your favorites for that contest in Philippines, the first ever Women's World Cup. Looking at the contests we've seen in the last few years so far, it is hard to ignore Brazil as a favorite going into that contest. There's just so much talent churned out of that country in general for our sport. But as you can see, it's just absolute domination within the continent. And I cannot wait to see what these women do as they represent their country once they look ahead here in about a year from now, and we see what those dates are for the Philippines for the World Cup final. Tell me what your guys' favorite part of this contest was. I hope you enjoy it. This is a contest that I always really enjoy, men's and women's sides. Easy for me to watch because of time zones, and hopefully something that you guys are able to catch on to and be inspired by. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And until I hear from you then, don't forget to play with your soul.